It is August 11th, 2021, and we are the Advisory Committee on Sustainability, having scheduled a regular meeting for 12 o'clock via go-to meeting, virtual only, as posted with the town clerk. It is 12:04. We're calling the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda is to approve the past minutes, which I guess the most current version Cliff sent Monday with some typos corrected. Yeah, actually, yeah. Any comments, questions, or edits on the minutes from June?
I'll make a motion to approve them. I had one tiny comment that I already told Cliff about, so it was just a typo. So I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
From June
2nd.
9th.
I have a second. Nobody wants to second?
Second.
Okay, there we go. Any further discussion? Hearing none. We technically have to take roll call votes. So, Pam, yes or no on the minutes?
Yes.
Cliff? Thumbs up. Carolyn?
Yes.
Kathy?
Not there.
Abstaining. Okay, I'll vote in favor. That's 401. The minutes are adopted, and Cliff will get that out to the town clerk to keep up on our FOIA compliance. Welcome, Ed Gentile. Next item on the agenda is any communications to report with like organizations. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Let's see, somebody is sharing a screen.
Yeah.
Pam, I think you've gone on to share your screen. So.
Oh, sorry.
It was just to get ready to get caught up on that conversation. But,
Craig, I could just report that I did attend the last Green Tea meeting, which was held in early June. And the meeting was almost entirely centered around an issue with tree removal by Eversource. So there wasn't a lot of sharing of other information at the meeting. That was the majority. But I also wanted to mention that there is a new executive director at the Dairy and Nature Center, and who I'm on the board of the Dairy and Nature Center, and I'm going in next week to meet him. Just a 20-minute, this is who I am kind of thing. And I just wanted to mention that one of the goals of the Dairy one of the goals of the Dairy and Nature Center, one of their as part of their strategic plan is to work with the town on sustainability initiatives. So I just wanted to say that there might be things that, going through our sustainable CT application, that if anyone feels that there are opportunities for partnering with the Dairy and Nature Center, especially in terms of like having, panel discussions, speakers, and so on and so forth, let me know, and I can work with them on that.
Yeah, no, there definitely are opportunities. I think I might even put DNC initials on a couple of them. We can look at that in a minute. So this is Alex, is it DeMaco?
Yes.
Alex DeMaco is the new executive director. Okay, cool. Any other communications with like organizations? Yeah.
What, Craig?
I'm listening.
Just one more thing.
Oh, no, please.
I was invited by Planet New Canaan and to go to a site visit. Ed and I already discussed this. The city of Stamford purchased a composting machine, and so there were some Planet New Canaan and some folks from Greenwich wanted to tour it, so they invited me to go, and it was very last minute, so that's why I wasn't able to tell anyone else about it. But I just toured it, and I'm going to be doing like a little write-up on it just to share with everyone. It seems interesting.
Was it cool?
Yeah, it's very cool. It's probably, this is what I was telling Ed, it probably wouldn't work for us at this point, just because it's a little bit labor intensive, but it's interesting. I took lots of pictures too, so I'll share those.
So is there intention to compost food scraps with it, or
that's what they're doing? Yes, yeah,
Okay.
they're composting food scraps. It's a little bit smaller than what they will need at that main recycling center. However, their vision is to have these throughout the city of Stamford. So in other words, this smaller machine might be placed at like one of the golf clubs, country clubs, and then they would purchase a larger one for this site. They would like to have one in North Stamford, just because it's kind of a hike for residents in North Stamford to come all the way down to the the recycling center. That's kind of their vision, they're piloting it in this area, but they would like to have them throughout the city.
And right now it's similar to our program in terms of it's kind of elective participation.
Yes.
And do they have designs to move, because they have city collection services, right? Do they have designs to move to a gray waste system in the future, or was that discussed?
I'm not sure. That may have come up that day, but there was just like so much information flying. I would have to check my notes and then maybe follow up with a call to get an answer to that question. But because right now people are having to do something that they normally don't have to do. It's not engaging as many people as it could.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But also there's so much, as we know, there's so much food scrap waste out there between commercial and residential users. I suppose one of the things that would be great in the future is that if there were more local opportunities for composting the gray waste. Right now our food scraps have to travel quite a distance to get to either the anaerobic digester or to a windrow farm. So it's a less sustainable than it could be if it was much more local and we burn less gas getting there.
True.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's a nascent market, and hopefully it will develop over time. Any other communications with like organizations that we should know about? All right. I'll move on the agenda then to item 3, anything to report on Board of Ed outreach? Okay.
Kathy, do you want to talk about the student that we spoke to who may be reaching out to Board of Ed members?
I'd be happy to. Carol, did just back me up. Was the letter sent to the entire committee or just to you and I and Christine before?
3 of us and Cliff.
Okay, and Cliff. Okay, so since there may be people who didn't know, that's all I was just trying to figure out. A student at Darien High School had expressed an interest through correspondence with the First Selectman's office to find out if there were ways to have an ordinance or a process to require food scrap recycling, food waste recycling through the school systems and possibly with grocery stores. Jamie forwarded that information to Carolyn, who then included me and I guess Christine. Cliff, you may have seen it, to have an initial conversation. So it was just a quick conversation. Well, not really quick. We had a thorough meeting with this young gentleman last week on his interest in having a full-scale program throughout the Darien schools. Carolyn and I were able to provide him with certain information, contact information on the environmental club at Darien High School and some of the work to have a compost pile or bin process at the high school last year, some of the work that we have done or the people that we've met doing recycling in schools in Fairfield County, suggested that he work with the environmental group, with people that he knew, reach out to Board of Ed and see if we could assist him in developing some sort of a prototype program that possibly the high school could try. Carolyn was able to sort of estimate what it would cost, so we noodled around ways that you could raise funds or get grants to do this. And again, it was clearly stated by Jamie Stevenson and reiterated by us that this would be a school department decision, and funding and process would come through the facilities manager or the superintendent of Board of Ed. So he is continuing to do his research. We've made ourselves available, and it might be a great way to begin to, as I said to Carolyn at the end of the meeting, great way for those of us who intended to reach out last year and didn't, to have a topic of conversation that would be constructive both for food scrap recycling, but maybe a larger amount of certification type steps. Did I get it?
Yeah,
Carolyn,
that
did I
was
get it?
great.
He was great. I mean, he's really interested, a young person who really sees the value in doing this. And we talked about, getting a teacher sponsor or a Board of Ed sponsor or friends or clubs or whatever to, explain why it's important, and then figure out if there was a way to set up, a curbside compost set of bins and pick up at that one school and sort of figure out what it takes and what it costs.
I love finding our passionate advocates.
Right, and we're trying to connect this passionate advocate with the other passionate advocate who contacted us earlier, and see if we can get them, because they don't know each other, and see if they can work together.
Fantastic.
One's a junior and one's a sophomore.
Perfect. That sounds great. Anything else on Board of Ed outreach for now? Okay. We're under the section on recycling. Do we have a food scrap update to provide?
I mean, just, the usual. I got the statistics for July, and our tonnages, it's very consistent. It went down a tiny bit this month, which doesn't surprise me because so many people go away in the month of July. I wouldn't be, and also because it's so hot, sometimes people drop off a little bit. But it was about 3.5 tons for the month of July. It was just over 4 tons in June. It was 3.5 tons in May, 3.5 tons in April. So it's very consistent. I do periodically check with the hauler to see if, there are any contamination issues. I'm told basically, roughly that our material is, the contamination level is pretty low, so that's good. So people are doing what they're supposed to. And, other than what we just reported about the students' interest in wanting to pilot a program at the Darien High School, there's not a lot more to report. And what I mentioned about Stanford, their machine.
I can confirm that participating in the program in July and August is not as fun as participating in the program in other months.
It's not, but
you're tossing your stuff, but we do it anyway.
Yeah, there actually are like some tips that we can. I've been meaning to do kind of like a best practices, like when the weather's hot, like how to kind of minimize the, the problems that you referred to. I just didn't get it done yet, but yeah, there are things people can do.
Cool. Like mixing with some leaf, maybe, I don't.
Yeah, and if you're, well, just a couple of things, like leave your material like in your refrigerator before, like if you know you're going to the recycling center on Wednesday, for example, like don't pile stuff into your bin on like Friday afternoon, like kind of maybe if you can let it sit, leave it in the back of your refrigerator. This is something I practiced when I was using curbside compost for a couple of years. Like I knew he came on Wednesday, so like I kind of pushed to the back of the refrigerator the stuff that I wanted to put in the bin, and I'd put it out like a day or two before, so it just doesn't
actually have a good idea. I didn't think about that. We have kind of like the overflow fridge in the garage, and we could easily throw a bin in there for.
Well, and some people have told me that they actually they have a lot. My refrigerator is not that big, but some people have told me that their refrigerator is large enough that they just put their bucket in there and they leave it there. Other people have told me they freeze the material. To your point, you could also mix it with like shredded newspaper, small amounts, not large amounts. But there are little tricks like that.
Cool. All right. Next item on the agenda is, have we heard anything else about shredding day from Kate in terms of when the town's, okay. And then we know the deposit bill was passed. I did get an email from CCSMM. They were going to have an overview of it. This was last Monday from 2 to 4. Did you happen to participate in that, Ed? I did not.
No, but if there's any material we can add to the website, forward it my way.
Yeah.
I didn't see notice of that meeting until it was until after the fact. So I wonder if they usually are pretty. Yeah, they usually post the videos, so we can always watch it.
Yeah, let's look at that. So here are the highlights. Let's see, increase handling fee for containers effective October 1, 2021. Expansion of the types of containers covered under the bottle bill effective July 1, 2023. So that's 2 years from now. Increased deposit on containers effective January 1, 2024. And then other requirements aimed at making redemption of containers more convenient for consumers. That was a high-level summary. The hope is that we get redemption rates back up from where they have fallen to about 50%, back up to 90%, which would be consistent with other states that have similar laws. So that sounds good. We'll look for that video and forward it around for consumption. Item number 5, swap shop. I do not see Mr. Dulcetti on the call. I will ask Ed if he has any thing to report regarding the swap shop or the book bin that was on the table for a little while, if that has gone anywhere.
Yep, just a little update on the book bin first. I did speak to Dan after last meeting. He was still waiting to hear back from the guy. He's all set and to get it in there, but I haven't gotten any paperwork. I don't have a contact, so I'm gonna have to maybe take that from Dan and maybe run with it myself, see if we can get that book bin in there.
Sounds good.
On the swap shop topic, we did have a little issue last week or a week and a half ago between two of our residents, or fine residents, who decided to have a little push and pull with an item in the swap shop, where the police had to be called, police reports were filed. I got a call from the sergeant. Yeah, it was. And then I got a visit from one of the residents, and had an opportunity to speak with her and her husband. It seems that in the swap shop, there are quite a few people that do volunteer there, that they spend some time there. They do help out. I mean, it's critical to run the swap shop. This individual felt that there was some comments that were being made that weren't appropriate in today's society. And I'll leave it at that. I did speak with Dan. I am going to meet with the volunteers this week or next, just to remind them that they do represent the town while they're over there, and that we do want to be on our best behavior. We want to be supportive. We want to be helpful. But certain people that do come there kind of want to be left alone also. And I think we have to respect that. And just kind of give them what my expectations are. And Dan said that that would be something that I think is at this time is warranted. So I'm going to do that.
I
I
appreciate
hope this doesn't go any further. I'm not sure if it will or won't. I was with this resident and her husband for about an hour and a half. That's a lot of time to talk about how she feels about the swap shop and Darien in general, but I felt it was worth it. So we'll see how it goes. It's the first time it's gotten to this point, and I don't think I'd like to see a repeat performance. So I think we're going to need to just make sure our volunteers know that there's some ground rules, there's some limits, there's some areas that they can't venture into. Comments are not appreciated at a certain level. So I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
Well, I appreciate you taking that on, and I appreciate you having a conversation with our volunteers to make sure they can remain customer service oriented and as representing the town. Certainly we want everybody to be treated with respect, and if that can't be done, then either volunteers or shoppers are not welcome. Either way, I would say it.
We both have something to say.
Craig?
Yes.
I just have a sort of, I don't know, a suggestion. I don't, it might not be a bad idea if you're going to speak to them to have, and it doesn't have to be, you know, on large poster size material, but there may be just a certain small code of conduct or reminder that either volunteers get when they sign on, or that's, you know, where somewhere in, you know, where they hang out inside the thing. Just a sort of a simple set of, you know, you represent the town, where you're, you know, vest when you're there, or whatever it is, you know, simple kind of things, where to call if there's a problem. It just might not be a bad idea to have something to.
We've had that sort of thing in the past. Maybe it just needs to be looked at and updated.
I mean, maybe it exists. I don't work there. I don't know that. It just.
Yeah.
And I was just going to point out that the past couple of times I've been there recently, in the past few weeks, that I haven't seen the volunteers wearing their vests. So I did ask two of the ladies what, I was like, oh, wear your vest. And she said, well, you know, it's summertime and it's hot. I'm like, really? Okay. But just wanted to put that out. I just think it's helpful if they do wear their vest.
I agree.
I mentioned that to Dan because I do want to go on my cameras over there just to check on how things are going, traffic, things like that. Didn't see any of those nice bright yellow vests that we got. So I said to Dan, he mentioned the same thing, that they're hot. So I said, well, how about fluorescent yellow hats that say volunteer on the top? At least I can spot them from the distance I am looking at who's there, who's working, you know, who's directing traffic. I want to make sure that these people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Just a thought, you know, I know maybe the hat will keep the sun out of their eyes and keep them cooler. I don't know. But we need something that
Identifies them.
Recognize quickly that they're a volunteer.
What
Yeah,
if
and
they got the same vest, like just yellow mesh? I mean, you know, that's
No, I mean, the vests were
they're not very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it is, even as a customer going in, if someone's, you know, approaching your car, or you're putting something down, it's to know that they're a it's just a comfortable feeling. And whether it's a lot of authority or not, invested in someone, that's the wrong word, sorry, but it just helps to know, I think, who's sort of there, part of the team.
And I think it would be cool if we got a sign one eventually. I don't know, maybe you think it's a stupid ad, but it says like, those things you see, like you're at Disney World or something, like need help, look for somebody in the yellow vest. And that, that way they know who the volunteers are, because not everybody exactly knows what to do when they get to the swap shop. I mean, most of them do, but not everybody.
Well,
Do we have to go to t-shirts that are yellow? I mean, you definitely have to wear a shirt.
I think, look, I agree that it would be better for everybody if volunteers were easily identified.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes it clear I'm here to help versus I'm just some other member of the public trying to do something. And I trust, Ed, your judgment, and now that you're involved more than you want to be, I'm sure you'll have some recommendations. Hopefully we can get those instituted.
When I speak to them, I'll see if I can get a little of their input on what the issues are, but, we have to go back to, and I think Kathy hit it on the head. If someone walks over to you, it's really nice to turn around and see the word volunteer somewhere on them.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, you know what? They're here to help me. Not just, what happens after that is out of my hands. I just want people to feel comfortable. And what I said to this woman that I spoke to for a while is I expect a couple things. One is that a resident go there and feel comfortable in using the facility, dropping off, picking up, and enjoying that part of the job, because people feel good about that. I said, and not to feel intimidated or scared to go in there. And I think that we have to kind of rein that in a little bit. And I think notification and easy identification of volunteers is one of those things. And I'll work with them on that. And if we have to purchase some more type of identifiers, regardless of what they are, we'll find the money to do that.
Personally, I like the idea of t-shirts. That's a nice idea. Bright yellow swap shop volunteer t-shirt, but that's just me.
All right. Anything to report under Energy Task Force? The two items I have listed from trailing conversations are potential for a new solar array on the town hall, senior center side, and exploration into electric vehicles or electric vehicle charging stations.
I don't have anything new, Greg, on the town hall senior side right now.
Okay, thank you.
And to be honest with you, I haven't even looked at the EVs right now. I'm on trees and flooding.
Why is that?
Yeah. We all got to take the fires as they come. So,
Yes. Okay. All right. On item 7, anything to report on marketing, outreach, and education? Any articles? Any letters to the editor? Any social media?
So we've had articles in the Darien Neighbor magazine the last couple months. I think, it's a little, sometimes it's hard to share the articles because they're not available online. So you have to physically make a PDF of it to forward. And I actually did do that. And I did make a PDF of the article that I had in July, which was on water conservation. And I think I forgot to forward it. So I'll do that. And then Kathy had a great article in the August issue and is having a follow-up article in the September issue if you want to talk about that. So.
Okay.
What's it about, Kathy?
So the two-part article was on sort of green practices at the waterfront, green boating, and the August issue is out, and I do have a PDF of it that was her mock-up. I could just send it to everybody.
But that's the whole magazine. You can't just take okay, sorry, go ahead. Maybe you know how to do it, I don't.
I think she sent me that page, but just.
Oh, okay. Okay.
At the time, but I will go back. I have the magazine too. I could just scan it back in. It doesn't matter. Point being that so that article was in August, and there's enough content that this could go for several months, but the September article talks about sort of more like winterizing and taking boats out of the water, and it talks about replacing the use of shrink wrap with canvas covers. It talks about some of the matters of cleaning and things like that, about not chemicals that you clean surfaces with that seep into the water. So there were 3 different topics the first and 3 the second time, and it gets into reducing plastics, reducing shrink wrap, watching chemicals, sunscreen, cleaners, paints, those kinds of things. Carolyn and I have sort of a combined idea for using some of the materials that I worked with my daughter, who works for a group called Sailors for the Sea, to talk about sustainable events, which gets into sort of holding clean events where you change practices at group events, whether it's, eliminating water bottles, food composting, education, information at large events, things of that nature. So we may be able to pitch for later down another story, kind of using information Carolyn had, and that sort of follows on with the green boating and protecting Long Island Sound articles that we submitted.
Cool. Thank you.
Craig, can I just mention one quick thing? Just through the recycle at darien.ct.gov email, I received 2 requests recently about plastic film recycling.
Mm.
One of them is a resident who says that he recycles at Whole Foods, and he also takes plastic film. I guess Home Depot has been set up there. Palmer's also does, I know. And he wanted to know if there's a possibility that we could set up a collection bin at the recycling center, which is something we've talked about in the past. And then the other thing that he made a comment about was, plastic bags that people put their garbage in. I think he thought that perhaps our trash goes to landfill, and I wrote back to him and said that it actually goes to the incinerator. But admittedly, it's not that much greater to burn plastic than it is to put it in a landfill. I think he just wanted to know, like, what if we should be promoting like the use of like compostable bags for trash or no bags for trash. And I just said to him that, like, from a practical standpoint, if people are using our food scrap recycling program, there's, most of your remaining trash is pretty dry. And, I don't really use trash bags anymore because you can just dump it because it's all very loose and it's light and it's dry. So
you just go from container to container. You don't even try to put it in the bag anymore.
Right. Is that something that as a committee that we feel like we should be promoting that? Should we be promoting that people use compostable bags? I don't know if it's that much better. Like someone would have to do the research on this, but
I honestly, it's interesting. So when we went to single stream recycling, I have a big recycling bin in my kitchen that we do not line. We just put the recyclables in it, and it goes container to container outside, no bag. And now that you mention it, we've still been stuck in the bag for our garbage, even though we're composting everything that's wet and smelly. And I used all the paper bags I had collected over time first, so cycle through those and reuse those. But then I kind of ran out of those, went back to plastic. But you know what? We could actually just try container to container. Would not even be anything. So yeah, why not a few social media posts as that as an option? I think that'd be kind of a cool area to explore. Just no bag, right? Like the best bag is no bag.
Yeah, right. Without the
best bag for the environment is no bag.
Right. Without the food in there, like nothing really sticks to the container. It's like you put it in your car and you dump it and it's just loose. It just all falls out. And then another person wrote about asked a question about plastic film, and she sent me a link for a machine that you can put plastic film in, and it creates these plastic discs, which the creator of the machine in the ensuing video claims that you can then put in your recycling bin. And she wanted to know if this was something that the town would want to partner with residents on. And initially I thought it was a big machine that would be like, that she was suggesting that we put this like at the recycling center and people could put their plastic film in there, and then it created these discs. But upon looking at it more closely, it's actually something that an individual resident would purchase or somehow get. So maybe she's wondering if this is something that we could offer to like the town, like we could get a grant and we could offer these to residents at a reduced price or something. I'm not sure what her intent was, but I don't even know if it's true what the creator of the machine says. If these discs can go in the recycling bin, we would obviously have to check.
It all goes into what can be sorted.
Yes.
City carding.
The sorting would right.
And even if it can be sorted, is there an aftermarket for it?
Can they sell it?
Or would it end up in the garbage anyway,
Right.
or the incinerator anyway? And so these both go back to Ed and Ed's conversations with City Carding, which, right now we have a very advantageous contract that we don't really want to open up because we're still getting paid for our recycling, which a lot of towns are not.
Most are.
Or a lot of towns are paying a lot for their recycling.
Yeah.
So we got to kind of look at that contract and the operations of the recycling center and the sorting collectively, holistically, for the best result. And right now, I leave that up to Ed. I mean, we would love to be able to recycle films in the future, whether we can segregate acceptance of them at the recycling center or use any other system or version to do that. But we have to get City Carding on board to do it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, Craig. I mean, this whole, as we continue to add things to their contract over here, it's so far they've been pretty amenable. Whether it was the paint management or the mattress management, they've taken everything to their charge. So I just want to be very, very careful going forward. Now, 2024 is right around the corner. Pretty soon, the whole process of negotiating the contract is going to really give us an insight with what other towns are doing and how much they're paying. We will at that time, hopefully have a robust food scrap program going, and hopefully a new contract with that hauler also, curbside. And I'm trying to work on that right now. So, I'd be a little nervous about adding more stuff to City Carding right now, but I would definitely want to take a look at what that proposal actually is. And Caroline, what actually the process, what does it actually get? What do we get out of the film? Is it something that is recyclable?
Yeah, I mean, City Carding would be the ones to have to tell us that. It compacts the plastic film into a plastic disc, which, like I said, the creator says you can put it in your recycling bin. He says it doesn't, jam up the machinery at the sorting facility the way plastic film typically does. But to your point, would it go through like a plastic food container would? And if so, would it, he claims that it can then be made into pellets, plastic pellets, which can then be recycled into other materials. So I will forward that. I wanted to bring it up at this meeting before I sent the video, because I wanted you to have some context for why I was sending this.
And just to sort of follow on that, and it's a kind of a different kind of film, but I've been following and trying to stay working with folks that are looking to develop a market for the boat wrap film, which it's crazy. They probably don't go through our dump much, but it's like one boat, 20-foot boat, is something like 2,500 plastic bags or some crazy number. So it's the market, and then whether you can directly ship to that market like we do curbside compost is a specific vendor, you know, a specific hauler for a particular product, or whether city carting has an interest in it. And as soon as I get any more, there's been some work going on in Southern New England to have sources for this stuff.
That would be great.
And, you know, as I learn, I will share.
Thank you.
And that's single use, Kathy. They only use it once in the. Ooh.
Once a
Yes,
year.
every boat that's wrapped, generally it gets thrown away every year.
Wow.
Well, at least we're talking about it and thinking about it, which is a start. And hopefully something can be done. All right, I'm gonna move on to item number 8, which are the sustainable CT actions. I'm just gonna share this thing. I don't know if you can see it or not. As I look at it, we talked about ways that we might partner with the Darien Nature Center. You know, their focus has been about the natural environment, or at least my perception of their focus has been about the natural environment, which, you know, a lot of the items under number 3 are the first ones to say, like, you know, probably in their wheelhouse, right? I recall one thing that might be good to do with the new executive director, and Carol and I'd be willing to do this with you if we wanted to set up a Zoom call, is when I took Pam Gary of Parks and Rec department through the Sustainable CT website and just showed her, like, here's this great thoughtful template for what the sustainability means in 2021. And here's all 11 categories, and here's how you can find information on things you can specifically do and actions you can specifically take under all these categories. And it was like a light bulb going off for her, going, oh, this is great. You know, now I have a resource, and if we're planning something, I can look at this and it can give us ideas. And I'm wondering if we go through the same process with the Nature Center. Maybe it'll just spur some ideas on their end. So I'd be willing to do that if you want to try to set that up.
Yes, when I meet him next week, I'll mention that and gauge his interest in doing that, and then I'll set something up. I'm
Great.
sure he would be interested, yes.
Cool. Any other items to report relative to our sustainable CT action list? Everybody having a good summer?
Yeah, Caroline gave me a bunch of new documents to update our website page, and so Linda was able to get that done and sort of have some of the headers changed and all that. Caroline, have you taken a look to see if it looks the way you were hoping it looked?
Yeah, I mean, we had talked at the last meeting about, like, maybe devising a way to make it more user-friendly. What we did is we basically just substituted current documents for old documents that were on the website.
Right, and renamed them, yeah.
Yeah, renamed them so that they match what's on the actual documents. And I think
it looked good to me.
Yeah.
You know, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, the only thing we don't have updated is the so-called expanded single stream recycling list. It's still the old list, and the reason for that is I cannot get in touch with anyone from City Carting to answer a couple of questions. The contact that I used when I updated the regular list that goes out with the permits, I've texted him twice and emailed him once, and I don't know if he even still works there. So
Is that the guy that's being investigated for fraud?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I read an article about.
That might explain why I haven't heard.
Someone at City Carting inserting stuff into Stanford's budget that was not related to recycling. Let's just leave it at that. Trips to local watering holes and so forth.
What I was going, oh boy, what I was going to suggest is that this be the last year maybe that we do have like the expanded list, because I think from a practical standpoint, there's so few items that City Carding has said that they accept that's not on the what's in, what's out list, the Recycle CT. I think going forward, we should adapt their list, especially since they now have this wonderful new app that you can put on your phone. I don't know if you all know about it. I've posted about it a couple times on social media, but there's this wonderful new app. You can put it on your phone. You can get it through the App Store or Google Play. And if you have a question, and this is so much easier for people, because if, let's say you want to, can I put, name something? Can I put rope in my recycling bin? Well, actually, rope doesn't come up. Can I put plastic wrap in there? It not only gives you the answer, but in a lot of cases, it gives you an explanation for what, about that material. So in this particular case, it says no, but that you can take clean, dry plastic wrap to a participating retailer. So I think this is the way to go, to what to do going forward, because it's just so much easier. And and then if there's something, like we've always been trying to like guess at everything, like every imaginable item, material, like does City Carding want this or not? I think we should adapt the Recycle CT list. And then if there's something that is not on that list that City Carding wants, I think it should be up to them to tell us that they want that particular material. And there's
100%.
Yeah, I mean,
Good.
I think
We've
that's
been
great.
driving ourselves crazy with this for the last 3 years, and I just don't think we should do it any longer.
I agree. I mean, DEP is well staffed, and this program is doing the research that we were doing individually before it existed. There is no reason to duplicate this.
And they have so many resources that we could share, that we could piggyback onto. Like they are doing more and more all the time as this goes forward. So I really think that this is the way to go. I think will be so much less confusing to residents. I just think that every other town is doing this. Like I think Greenwich might be one of the few towns that, like us, they create their own list. But again, there's very few things on their list that is not on that doesn't match the Recycle CT list. Universal.
I support your recommendation.
Carolyn, this might be a fun little blurb. I just learned that black plastic pots cannot be recycled.
That's what Recycle CT says, but again, this is an item that as of February or March of this year, we were told by City Carding that they could take them. Now, whether they take them and they throw them away because they're saying, well, we can take them because we have the ability to sort them out, but most sorting facilities don't. So that's why they're on the out list.
Okay.
So that's why I haven't like really highlighted that, because I don't know if they want to continue to get them, because I can't reach anybody there. So, but that's one of the very few differences, again, between our list and Recycle CT's list is black plastic. There's a few other things. They take the pencils, and Recycle CT says no. There's like maybe 5 things that we've identified that.
Mm-hmm. It's a really cool app. I like it. Thank you.
I've been using it.
Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I think I'm up in Maine, and they have an app like that up here too, which I have on my phone, and it is terrific. I put in there the other day fluorescent bulbs, and they say no, you can't put that in the recycling. But if you go to the three different places or 4 different places they told you could go to where they would recycle it. Now, in our case, we have a program to deal with that, and that would be at variance with, I think, the app. So I just wanted to highlight that.
So if you put fluorescent bulbs into the wizard, the recycling wizard, it says that they're accepted at household hazardous waste collections, and then it gives you a link to find when your collection is. But then it also says some municipalities offer recycling of these bulbs and other fluorescent bulbs at their transfer stations, and it says check with your local recycling coordinator.
Good. Good.
And if,
Cool.
yeah, so it does accommodate that.
I assume that if things did come up where improved communication would help, we could talk to folks behind what's in, what's out, make sure it's done correctly.
Just Carolyn, you just mentioned, and I had been asked by someone in town if I knew when there was any hazardous waste recycling. I know you said something about if we knew about shredded paper or not, but do we know? I mean, it may be somewhere and I haven't looked, but is there a quick answer to hazardous waste that I could turn on to?
Yeah.
So we partner with area towns so that
Right.
there's a household hazardous waste day available to Darien residents 5 or 6 times a year.
Yep.
It's passed, but I think if you go to our website, you might see it. Let's see.
Is it on the website? Okay. I just.
It's either on Ed's website or ours, one of the two.
Yeah, I think it's on Ed's website. It lists 6 dates, and there's a couple coming up in like September, October, and I think by October they're done, and until the following April. But ours, Darien, is always the first Saturday in June. But like Craig said, we partner with other towns. So you know what, Kathy, I do periodically do a post with that calendar, but I'll do another one just because you brought it up.
You got next one would be August 28th in Norwalk from 8 to 2 at Norwalk High School.
Okay, right, and then September, and then October is the last one.
Yep. So this calendar is largely the same every year.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to go to any one of them as a Darien resident. All right. Well, I have a full stop at 1, so I'm motivated to get to the adjournment of our meeting. Anybody have anything else that they would like to mention or add to the next agenda? All right. Thank you for coming, everybody. I know the commute was tough.
Yeah, opening that laptop cover.
Honestly, it's really nice, right? We can get the same amount of business done with an hour or less travel time. So I've been enjoying it, and we'll see how long it lasts.
Double.
Agreed.
Well, I'm going to stop recording the meeting, calling adjournment at 12:56.